Okay, 5.8 is about solving polynomial equations by factoring. So I'm going to factor this polynomial, and I'm going to do this. And I have to think about, obviously these are going to be x's. I got to think about my signs and what's going to get me to 35, but have a positive 2 here. So what I decided was 5 and 7 were 2 apart. I'm going to make the 7 positive and the 5 negative so that I'm left with this positive 2x. Once I have that, I'm going to set them both equal to 0, and x plus 7 equals 0. And what I'm going to end up doing is adding this 5 to both sides of the equal sign, and it's going to leave me with a positive 5 for x. And then over here, I'm going to do the opposite of that, positive 7 on both sides, and that's going to leave me with a negative 7 for x. All right, problem 2. Here it is. Again, I'm going to factor this polynomial, but first I got to bring this 45 over. So now I have x squared minus 4x minus 45 equals 0 on that side. So I'm going to do this and this, and I know this is x, and I know that. So I got to think of two things that are going to get me to 45, but are going to have a difference of 4. And what I realized was 9 times 5 was 45, and they have a difference of 4. So I'm actually going to do I think I'm going to make the 9 negative, is that right? Yeah, so negative 9, so that I end up with the negative 4 and a positive 5. And when you do that, then you have x plus 5 equals 0 and x minus 9 equals 0. And you're going to do the opposite to both sides. And you're going to end up with x equals negative 5 for that one. And over here, you're going to do x, and you're going to get rid of this with a positive 9 and a positive 9. So x equals a positive 9 for problem 28. Now these ones were kind of stinking hard for me. But what I realized is that I got to turn this back into a difference of squares. So a times a is going to be a squared. And then you kind of distribute this and you end up with a squared minus 16. Because if you had this, you could go back to that. Now I can bring this 20 over, and so I have negative 20 more. So now I have a squared and a negative 36 equaling 0, and now I can factor this difference of squares. So a, and then I'm going to have a negative, and I'm going to have a positive, and I know it's going to be 6. And 6, because 6 times 6 is 36. Then I'm going to have a minus 6 equals 0, and a plus 6 equals 0. And then for this one, a is going to end up being negative 6 here. And of course, it's going to be a positive 6 here. That was a little messy. A equals positive 6. So that's what I got there. And then for 54, oofda. I had to go back and reread the notes because I forgot about that whole substituting the u to make it simpler. So u substitution. So what I'm going to do is call this t squared squared minus 13t squared plus 36. And then I'm going to substitute in the u. So t squared becomes u squared minus 13u plus 36 equals 0. And then I'm going to factor this guy out. And what I'm going to realize is 4 and 9 are going to multiply together to get me that 36. And then they're going to also leave me with this negative 13. So they're both going to be negative. Negative times a negative is going to give you that positive 36. So then you have that, but then you have to substitute back into here this t squared minus 4. And you see that that's the square root. Oh yeah, I gotta keep setting it next to 0. And then t squared minus 9, and you can see that this is a difference of squares as well. So you're gonna end up with 4 answers if you do this. So let's break this t squared minus 4 apart. So t and t, there's gonna be a positive and a negative, and you're gonna have a positive 2 and a negative 2, and then you set all of those equal to 0. So t plus 2 equals 0, t minus 2 equals 0, and you do it all out, and you end up with this one being t equals negative 2, and then this one, because you're moving this negative 2 over with a positive 2, t equals positive 2. I'll do it better over here. All right, t times t, the positive 3 and the negative 3, and I'll do this out. So t plus 3 equals 0, and t minus 3 equals 0. So let's do this one. So minus 3, so t equals negative 3, and then this one is going to be a plus 3 and a plus 3, so t equals a positive 3. So t equals 3, negative 3, negative 2, and a 2. All right.